Hi, my name is Sam Hart, and I work in Web3 space. I've been working in crypto for about 10 years. I'm here on behalf of Other Internet, which is a applied research, social research organization. And yeah, very happy to be here at the Web3 privacy event.
Hi, Sam.
Hi.
Thanks for coming.
Of course.
Hi, people. So, for people who don't know you, can you tell just a few words, like who you are, like what do you do, like, briefly?
Yeah, I'm Sam Hart. Thank you for the invitation. I have been working in the Web3 crypto space for a better part of 10 years now. I've done a whole range of different things. So I've done a bunch of consulting. I worked on like EIP 1559. I did a lot of kind of product strategy and kind of mechanism design. Right around the COVID era, I got drafted into running the Interchain Foundation, just the Cosmos associated foundation. Did that for about 2 years. And I was leading the kind of product strategy and, you know, a lot of the business development there. And then subsequently worked at an MEV company called Skip and did a whole bunch of kind of cross-chain infrastructure development. And yeah, very recently started my own organization called Timewave, which also does a kind of cross-chain ZK infrastructure, kind of a nascent project.
Can you tell a bit more about Timewave?
Yeah.
Like what do you do? What sort of like cross-chain ZK stuff?
Yeah, so it is kind of a virtual execution environment that lives across many chains at the same time. Yeah, it really kind of is attempting to make it so that you can develop an application and then choose where you want the application to be executed. Mm-hmm. So you kind of tie it into one chain or another, or you could tie it into multiple chains at the same time. And we use ZK proof as the kind of integration point to anchor it into one chain or another.
And how do you choose a chain, or it's automatically like according to the best, I don't know, conditions for that?
Usually you decide beforehand and you kind of compile into the correct verification key. So we're using ZK pretty extensively. And then you write that verification key to a given chain. So you're kind of compiling and deploying down into the chain that you want to interact with.
Mm-hmm. Okay. But yeah, maybe we will get back to that later, but I wanted to ask you like more in general, like you've been here for 10 years. That's a lot, especially for crypto space where like every month, not even years, like everything is changing completely. So, but how do you feel like this change that happened for this 10 years? And especially from like privacy, human rights perspective?
Yeah, it's a good question. Asking this today, I feel like the shift has been from kind of optimism and really a sense of I don't know, like future looking, like open world desire to build into something that's like very practical and material and honestly a little bit more pessimistic today. At the same time, you're kind of seeing real world adoption, but also co-option by authoritarian regimes, and crypto is an important chess piece on a geopolitical game board in a way that it hasn't been previously. So that's it feels like the stakes are maybe higher. in a way that they weren't before. And I mean, from a privacy perspective, honestly, I don't really feel like the needle has moved all that much in terms of absolute numbers. I think there's been great advances in technology, but you know, the absolute adoption of privacy in cryptocurrency in particular is relatively low, and I think something that really needs kind of directed efforts like we're doing at this conference.
Well, 100%. What do you think like can be done more like to move towards this direction? Because we are here, we are like in a bit of a privileged position. We are gathered here, just a few bunch of selected people, but for people who will watch this video, for instance, right? Like, are there any like simple steps that can move all this a bit forward?
Yeah. I think I've asked myself the same question, and I don't know that I have the answer. Really, the two directions that seem most impactful are talking to people that you know need privacy and like really understanding their needs, like not making assumptions about what it is that they need and delivering a pragmatic solution. I think this is, you know, something that the crypto industry in general has had a lot of resistance to is like going on the ground and talking to people who are users or potential users and like, you know, not really making assumptions about what it is, you know, how their life operates and what they need. And then the other, for privacy in particular, I think there is an important interrelationship that you need to make with industry. You know, this is how crypto was widely adopted on the web. Originally, it was there was a real business case that was made around end-to-end encryption, and that allowed corporations to levy governments to then accept crypto as a standard because it was you know, a competitive advantage for them in the long term, and I think there's lessons to be drawn from that.
Yeah, regulation is going like really heavy. That's a big thing. But yeah, going back to this cross-chain thing that you're you know a lot. Like your short take on like cross-chain integrations and the future of that. Like where are we moving there?
Yeah. So I can say where I think we should move, which is you know, intuitively, like users don't really care or want to have any understanding of like where their data lives. I think it's just when you're interacting with the web, you're not looking like, okay, this is the server is based in Iceland or something. Like it's just not really core to your experience. And I think it should be similar when you're interacting with crypto. You want to get something done, and in order to get something done, you might need to interact with a whole bunch of different services that live on different chains, or you know, even off chain. And there needs to be kind of a fabric that allows you to make these things interact with one another. And yeah, I mean, the pieces are coming together slowly. It's not really a technical problem anymore. It's more of a standards and people putting in the effort to kind of create transition points between these things, which is an enormous amount of work. But it is certainly possible. It's still a very long road until we get to the point where you're just interacting with Web3 as a kind of cloud entity.
No, I certainly agree that it should be something under the hood for the end user, because mostly they don't care. Let's be honest. And that's 100% something that should be done like underneath. But I want to jump aside a bit. And am I right? You have a background with art, right?
Yeah, both my parents are artists. I grew up in an artist household. I ran an artist magazine for 4 years. And yeah, I have a strong connection to art.
Yeah, that's, for me, it's very interesting to explore because like I'm an artist myself and I don't find a lot of people in this space who are related or have artistic background because mostly it's like tech people. So I wanted to ask you like your take on like what do you think like tech world or tech people can learn from art world, because it's so different and so distant and like never connected really. And how do you connect like the lessons?
Yeah, that could be a whole interview unto itself. What can they learn from? So first of all, as if you're an artist, you know there's a kind of distinction between the art world and artists at large. The art world is art with a capital A. It's a kind of institution that operates in a very specific way around blue chip galleries and people with capital. And honestly, I think in a lot of ways there are similarities between capital A art worlds and some things in crypto. But art as a field more broadly is highly decentralized. Anyone can kind of claim to be an artist, which I think is like really beautiful. And takes a multitude of different forms, from writing or installation art, land art, painting, whatever. Honestly, I think that the most important thing that the crypto industry could take from the art discipline is art is a field that is interested in other fields. It is about other fields. Like, it is taking an interest in other people and other things and like really trying to like elevate those and bring out their stories. And I think that's just an incredible skill to cultivate, and something that crypto should be trying to achieve as well. Like, can you help tell other people's stories and like raise them up? Can you get really involved and become a kind of support structure for them? That's I think one of the most valuable things that you could take away.
Yeah, 100%. But do you see any upcoming possible intersections between like art and like Web3 world, like beyond NFTs? Like, is there anything that might be maybe next generation of like this roadmap or some other forms of collaboration? Is there like a place for art in Web3?
Yeah, definitely. So a lot of the art meets Web3 things that I've done have been more kind of protocols as art. They're almost like performance art. I think that there's a really interesting intellectual direction to take there. It's maybe a bit esoteric for some, but there's a number of intersections. Like, the most practical of which is just financing for artists. Like, there's a structural problem in which only a small percentage of artists get paid for their work. It's mostly a kind of hobby. So just providing support and distribution infrastructure, I think, is super important. And there's so many like high leverage things that you could do that would make a huge impact on artists. In terms of like art that could be made in the context of Web3, I think that in order to do that effectively, you need to think about what the Web3 audience is and how you build a Web3 audience. This is something that I feel like is a little bit lacking. When you think about like where do people in Web3 live? Like where do you spend your time? Maybe it's like on Twitter or Telegram or you use it just as a financial application, and there really isn't much of a social component going on at all. So for artists to be interested in Web3 as as a space to create things, you kind of need to have an audience, or you need to allow them to bring in their own audience. That's where I think there's a lot of room to grow. Where right now crypto has some degree of resources, and they are kind of creating platforms of sorts, but they don't necessarily have a kind of cultivated viewership or like a space in which like artists can come in and create something. And even if you look at NFTs, there are a few kind of Discord communities maybe that are interested in a certain artist or collection or gallery, but the kind of social experiences and the dialogue that's created, I think, is still a little bit lacking, and one of the reasons that the NFT boom kind of dissipated a bit is there wasn't that kind of community retention in providing a productive space to speak with others about the artwork.
Okay. I believe there can be much more intersections than NFTs. They still exist, but in a weird way, but whatever. But yeah, talking about future, imagine we are there. We achieved what we were fighting for. Like we have this private, secure, liberated web, like in 10 years or whatever. And how would you imagine the world when like we won? We have everything we are fighting for now. How will the world look like, and how will life look like?
Wow. I there's so many ways to answer that question. I guess the thing that comes to mind immediately is I would like people to spend more time on the things that are really kind of personally enriching to them and their community. I think there's a kind of decoupling between people's like work selves and like how they sustain themselves and like how they sustain their like social relationships, and being able to invest more time in like the things that are personally nourishing for you. I think that's something that the privacy community is like particularly gives particular attention to. Is like they are very focused on the people that you interact with most closely and the things that are most personal to you. Like that's a very important kind of construct for them. And if the privacy community is successful, then hopefully those relationships would be given more attention and more dedicated space to flourish.
Well, we wish it will happen soon, but we need to round up because we are out of time. So thanks for joining us for the talk.
Thank you. This is great.
Thanks for watching. Ciao.